Hi, hello everybody in internet land. How are you doing on this Wednesday afternoon now? Punctuality is not exactly my strong suit, but like, we don't have to have the dishwasher just hanging up and Oh yeah, and happy Valentine's everybody. Happy Valentine's. It's Valentine's Day and Ash Wednesday, so that was fun this morning. Kid goes to a Christian school, so they did the whole bit at the school this morning. It's kind of nutty. What? Oh, my hair is driving me crazy. Nobody's here yet. I'm gonna go get my hair clips. I think I just confused him by walking in there. He's working at home today. Speaking of being confused, my head is backwards. This is the right side of my head. It's so strange. There we go. Now I just have it sticking out over here, which is great. You know. My hair adventures. I hope everyone is enjoying this. You can hear the dogs play fighting in the background. We'll take them out after a while. I don't know where my hat went. My hat has disappeared. Which is kind of funny because I swear I know where I only wear it every day. It hasn't been off my head that long, Why does this one want to stick out over here like that? I don't like that. Ooh. Oh. What a thing to be worried about, I guess. I don't know. How did everybody enjoy the video? It was a little different this week. I started with a topic instead of a twit. I don't know. I thought it might be kind of a fun change from my usual fare, from making fun of somebody. Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I was kind of hoping to talk about some science, something interesting that had been overlooked for some reason, and it turned out to be, and I ended up talking about, media spin instead. Yeah. And a couple of them were so silly, I just had to include them because they were too damn funny not to. We are trying to have a little fun here, right? And but the crux of the whole thing is how frustrating it is that when we do actually get to discuss any difference between men and women, it just gets used to prop up the same bullshit, which is so incredibly annoying. Because it turns out the sleep difference is probably not a real thing. Men and women probably need the same amount of sleep, and women actually require sleeping longer because we don't sleep as well. It's quality over quantity. Okay. That is what it seemed to be. Our sleep is more disturbed by insert thing. We are lighter sleepers in general. So yeah, we tend to hang out in the bed a little longer. That's it. We don't sleep as well. Why is that? Well, I suspect there are cultural reasons for that. Whether or not those cultural reasons have it's like 90% of the people talking about sex differences are using it as some weird justification for their conservative bullshit or liberal bullshit. That's what I'm saying. It goes both ways. Not in this case, I don't think. I'm going to turn that light off. That's backwards. I guess the idea that no, that's like liberal bullshit. The idea that you can have it all, be a wife, a mother, and have a career, that's liberal bullshit. That's the multitasking thing. So this one is used both ways, I guess. But that's what it is they always use, whenever they find these differences, people just use them as justification for the bullshit they already believe. Aha, I was right. And then when that thing turns out to not be true, they just ignore that. So go, wait a minute. So if that backed up what you were saying, maybe you should question what you were saying, since that thing's not even true. I'm just logicking over here. It does make you wonder if the other things they believe are possibly based on similar specious evidence. And I just have to quote George Carlin again. It's all bullshit and it's bad for you. Because, we're all trying to figure out how to live. How best to live is a big question. Sometimes these types just assume biology already backs them up. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, of course I'm right. Yeah. It's very egotistical way of looking at things. And then, of course, like I say, when it doesn't back them up, they just ignore it. What was I saying? Doggone it. I do not remember. It's all bullshit and it's bad for you. Da, 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 da. But, basically it's like, I would actually like to explore and discuss some of the differences between men and women. It's an area of interest of mine. And stuff like this makes it very difficult. Okay, because, for one thing, reasonable people may have read an article like this and think they know a thing. Which, when they quote a scientist and they reference a study that says blah, a reasonable person may believe that. Okay, and then quite frankly, later on, forget where they read it. Okay. So you have reasonable people going around believing bullshit lies that reinforce cultural narratives about shit like women being better at multitasking. Well, why would you want us to believe that? Because we're expected to do all the multitasking. It's so insidious. It's like, okay, honey, you can have a nap. You can have a nap. We'll give you the nap. But you can't actually have a break. Oh, no. You're still expected to do all this shit. But, like, you can sleep. Like, one of them, I think it was the AI video. It cut it out. No. I didn't use this clip, but it said something like, just go. No. This might have been one of the articles I read. I took in so much research in, like, one day. But it said something along the lines of, sleep in and let him get up with the kids. And I'm like, that could be dicey. What up, Susie? I watched the whole video of the sleep deprived, so I feel like excuse. And apparently women do suffer more from sleep deprivation. It affects us more. We get very grumpy and aches and pains and all that. The stuff we complain about that men are like, oh my God, shut up. That's all in your head. Don't be such a, our delicate constitution. And we were just discussing how this stuff gets used to rationalize whatever paradigm we're already living in, right? It just gets rolled right into the bullshit instead of anybody actually looking at any of this. And what does it, actually tell us about, I don't know, women, as if anyone would care, I guess. But so, yeah, you have reasonable people going around believing things that are just not true. Because I found easily half a dozen articles quoting this professor who, again, he passed away last year, but he was the director and founder of the Sleep Institute at a university. Like, I said it several times in the video because it just rolls off the tongue. It was funny. But like, and like that girl could not pronounce it. She called it Lubra. Anyway, people could have read these articles because they quote this professor who has his scientific opinion, being the director of a sleep institute and whatever. He can say what he likes. Okay, that's his opinion. He's allowed to have an opinion. And then they pair it with this information from this Duke study. Okay, and I don't know if the person who wrote the original Daily Mail article assumed he was referencing a study and then like got off the phone with the guy and couldn't find it, so like just used the closest thing they could find. I do not know how this originally happened exactly, but a reasonable person could read one of these articles that's just parroting the same shit from this Daily Mail article over and over and over again. You know how it is. There's a hall of mirrors repeating the same shit over and over. Anyone could have read any of these, a reasonable person too, and believe this stuff. They're quoting a professor and then, backing him up with these facts, talking about a study as if it were his study, which it's not. Because the study that says women have more complex brains and are better at multitasking does not exist. That was his professional opinion, which is an interesting opinion, but he's dead, so I guess we're not going to get any clarification there. I love how everybody's sleepy today. That's so funny. Are y'all normally sleepy and it's just not relevant or what? Like, so yeah, this dude had a hot take basically, but he's entitled to his hot take because he's the founder of a sleep institute. He had research papers on PubMed going back to the 1970s about sleep and stuff. So he's entitled to his opinion, but then they paired it with this other study as if it were a fact. And a reasonable person could have read any of these dozen articles over the last 15 years and go around believing this. Okay. That backs up a lot of our experience. A lot of women are like, yeah, I am better at multitasking than you. And like, yeah, because you have 20 years of practice, honey. Yeah, sometimes there's things you don't have research evidence for, but you strongly suspect as an academic. Right. But again, correlation does not equal causation, okay? Why would women need more sleep? Why would they be better at multitasking? Is it because we have a girly brain? Like after 20 years of practice, possibly. But it reminded me of that study about the cabbies in London, right? And they're like hyper developed cerebellum or whatever it is. And the hypothesis is that, they have these epically developed senses of spatial relations because they're fucking cabbies. That's what they do for a living, is navigate the insane space that is the streets of London. So they have an epically dense and complicated, complex understanding of that. And it's reflected in their brain. It reminded me of that, right? It changes with the way you use it. So, come at me with some woman my age who's so great at multitasking. Yeah, because she's been doing it since high school. My girlfriend loved the Valentine's Day gift I got her. A set of milkshake glasses with spoons. Oh, that's cute. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes there's no... Mm-hmm. But so if you have the suspicion as an academic, then that's your... Women are overworked. They do most of the domestic and parenting tasks. That's why they need more sleep. Right, yeah.
Get down.
And that's exactly the kind of thing that we're not talking about if we're talking about how it's, because of our brains. Okay. Let's see what I'm saying there. It's a fun little bait and switch where you acknowledge the problem and then offer an explanation that's like total bullshit and and serves the narrative, right? Ugh. It's advertising, essentially. Right? Because advertising is invent a need and then fill it, right? I remember a brand study a while back showing women are able to be left and right brained much better than men. They said it's to do with child rearing, being able to multitask, etc. See, and I'm not saying that none of this is inborn. Personally, I suspect some of it is. I suspect some of it is, stuff that's a little deeper that maybe might be triggered under certain life circumstances later on, okay? You wouldn't maybe take those dogs outside, would you? Thank you.
I wasn't planning on staying outside. I'll go outside for you.
Just for a little bit. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and perhaps a female person is more inclined to develop along these lines. I believe that. That sounds really boring, though. That's not much of a headline, is it? And then, if you get the kids and the husband and the house and the blah, 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 and you find yourself in this situation, then yeah, you might find yourself behaving in such a way, right? And thinking in such a way. Or not. That doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. Being an outlier does not mean there's something wrong with you. Which is another thing that we need to get the fuck out of our heads. Guess who was an outlier for the longest time until I accidentally found myself in that situation. Evolutionary psychology is fascinating, and it is really badly, it's kind of bad though. Right? Like, I'm not dropping a hot take and saying that. I'm not the only person who says that, the current state of evolutionary psychology is like, wow, we do a thing. I wonder why cavemen might do that thing. Maybe that's why we do that thing. It's like, no. You're going about that in the wrong direction. It's history channel level thinking there, right? Like, on the other hand, there is the legitimate question of, like, for example, I was watching Avengers Infinity War, and now I'm watching our live discussion. Oh, thanks. I mean, is that a new movie? I feel like they put out a new movie, right? I don't know. I don't know what that stuff. But so, in reproduction, so with like the whole when a man and a woman love one another very much and they get naked and they get together, right? You're just coming at that with two very different sets of possible outcomes, right? 2018 movie, right on History Channel. Is that the one that runs Ancient Aliens on a loop? Right, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. A lot of evolutionary psychology that I read and hear about is like History Channel level of thinking, right? They're taking our expectations and projecting them back really, really hard. That's what I'm saying. Yes, exactly. Like Ancient Aliens. You got it. They used to actually run history stuff. Like, God. When I say 25 years ago, that used to be the mid-90s. That's not so true anymore. Shit. But like the late mid-90s? I don't know. No, but anyway, so there are actually differences between men and women, and I would love to talk about what they are. It would be really nice if we could do it without everyone in the room all of a sudden behaving as if they're 8 years old. Like, oh my God. Like, can we please be adults? Please. Like, look at the super adults. Okay, the octogenarians who are running the world, they're not doing a whole lot better. It's not like we can rely on them to like know some epic level of wisdom that we don't have. South Park did an epic takedown of History Channel alien nonsense. It was about the pilgrims being aliens coming from a planet made of stuffing. It was hilarious. Stuffing like Thanksgiving stuffing. Nice. I cannot imagine writing so much satire for so long, like, and they don't always nail it, but man, like to look at the world through those glasses every day, I'd go crazy. I don't know how they do that. That's what blows my mind. It's a movie where Thanos kills trillions of people with a snap of his finger. Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Did you get your zoomies out?
Apparently it was like a good movie or something. I don't know. The differences between men and women go back to how sexual reproduction evolved 2 billion years ago. Exactly. They exist. And we cannot seem to talk about them because, excuse me, apparently they're like the most charged topic that humanity can possibly deal with. And the only thing that's worse is ignoring them and pretending that they don't exist, which is what we apparently have in the mainstream narrative now. South Park guys are absolutely brilliant. They have predicted so much of modern day lunacy. It's scary. What's scary is that anything in reality would change to better fit their fever dream. Like, that's the scary part. I'm not saying they're not brilliant, but like, they're not trying to predict anything, you know? They're not prognosticating. That's not what that is. Ooh. Satire should not be. Yeah, that's terrifying. Because, with satire, you're supposed to be making a statement about how ridiculous something could be. So if it surpasses, ooh. I've definitely seen stuff like that. Where old satire, you watch it and you're just like, yeah, I saw that on the news. That's not funny anymore. Like, right? It's by accident, but even more funny because of that. It's scarier because of that to me. There are only 2 sexual gametes. That's it. No third gamete, no spurg. Yeah, I think you said that in a comment last week. That's funny. Spurg. But yeah, and these differences, how deep do they run? What do they cause? And how and why and under what circumstances? And exactly what choice do we have in the matter? Like, how, we can't have these conversations. Like I said, it's so strange because the mainstream narrative is, on the one hand, completely downplaying all of them. There is no difference officially between men and women at all. We can do everything they can do and blah, 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 blah. Which, while true, is really nothing like the whole story, right? And then on the other hand, you have this really strong undercurrent of obsession with these ideas. It's almost like the shadow self of, like, on the front facing part, we're like, no, these don't exist. They don't exist. They don't exist at all. We're just not going to acknowledge them at all. And then in the background, we're just like obsessing over them. I hope we're not going to hear about a Rad Mom threesome today. Oh my God. I watched some of that while it was going out. I just happened to tune into that. Oh my God. No. And I don't judge. I was absolutely. How I can't imagine, like, no one deserves that crap. But yeah, I don't want to tell this story. Long story short, somebody was taken advantage of by somebody else because they, well, I feel terrible for her. I feel really terrible for her. Yeah. Yeah. I would never have allowed myself to be in that situation. If you know what I mean. I would never. No, this is not related to that directly, actually. As far as I know, that was a one-off, and just I'll tell you about it later. I don't want to tell that story here. It is not my story to tell. How horrifying. I feel so bad for her. And I feel that, healthy boundaries help keep that sort of thing from happening. Is what I would say. My girlfriend and I are doing a Valentine's Day lunch today. We're still deciding on where to go. Right on, yeah, because it's 9:30 there. Oh my God, the delay is so funny. I hear you in the kitchen and then 30 seconds later. Oh, well. latency. It's the world we live in. No. I have nothing, like no drama. Like, oh wow, that and to have put yourself out there, and I wonder. It makes me wonder, about. It's frustrating because I feel like wherever you go, some of the more involved people are the ones who are involved because they have nothing better to do, or because they're trying to get away from their house or whatever. So I have found that in my church. So I definitely cannot say that as anything special about the Rad Femme community. Your feed is instant for me. Scott, honey, you're not sitting around the corner from me and hearing me in real life in one ear and in the earphone in the other. That's what he's talking about. Yeah, so I would say women can be absolutely brutal to each other. Yeah, yeah. And like I'm looking at this in more of a human way, at least to start with. Okay. Of, somebody clearly there needs to learn to enforce her boundaries, I would say. Okay. And somebody else there has no fucking concept of other people's boundaries, apparently. Just on a human level. If we're still talking about the same thing. And as for like maybe last week is what you're talking about. I don't know why that girl came over here. I truly do not know what that is about, and I haven't thought about it in several days because, like, it didn't make any sense to me. But I don't know. Yes, you see this a lot in the Lifetime movies where one woman does god awful things to another. Yeah, well, I mean that's drama. You see explosions a lot in movies too. I don't know that I've ever seen one in real life though. And car chases, that's another thing you see a lot of in movies. I don't think I've ever seen one in real life. Because also I wonder if part of that isn't like kind of taking advantage of the fact that we do tend to be worriers and directing that towards each other. You've seen both in real life? That's awesome, I guess. I hear you. It's a tough subject to talk about. Don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. See, I'm not worried about hurting people's feelings because you're like, okay. Our feelings are not the point. And I include myself. Unless you're talking about, Brittany and her thing, in which case I'm still not worried about hurting people's feelings. I just don't want to gossip. It's not my thing to talk about. On the other hand, it is insane, and it's hard not to at least say, what I said, because that was my heart goes out to her. I can't believe that you would get that. That's not what you should reap from helping, people. Like, that's terrible. No, you know what? I didn't watch that live. I watched it a couple hours after it went out because I kept I wanted to comment in this, then I realized I kept thinking, no, I can't do that. Like, that's not actually live. I can't do that. That's right. Anyway, I saw it really soon after she talked about it, though. And it just seems to me that it's frustrating because no matter where you go, the most involved people, a lot of times, are the ones that are, like, not involved for the right reasons. They're there because they don't have anything better to do. For whatever reason. And that's what they've chosen to try and, pump meaning into their life. Yeah. And as for her partner, oh. Again, speaking for myself, I would have been pissed. But they have their thing, and then, that's their business. That's not what I have in my life. That's not how I. No. And I'm not going to say I've never made any mistakes in that arena. Like, we all have our learning experiences, and I do not mean to judge. And sometimes you learn to enforce a boundary by learning where it is. Right? That's definitely a legit thing. Some people, for them, apparently that's not a boundary. Okay, whatever. I feel like a discussion would have helped. Oh, good. Do we have a visitor? Or is the mailman here? It's impossible to know unless I get up and go look out the window, and I'm not going to do that. So I guess I just sort of am picking at the differences between men and women myself, because like I was saying about this story in particular, the journalism was really bad. The science seems to be okay in that they're looking at it at all. But like, the journalism is really bad. I'm not a professional. I'm not a trained journalist. I'm not a trained journalist, but anybody can follow the thread of something if you put your mind to it. There's an episode of Supernatural where Dean was under a dog spell where he literally barks at the mailman. Yeah, that's funny.
He wasn't trying to hurt us or nothing.
Did we get a package? Okay. Oh my God, I remember that. Nice. Yeah. So that's really one of the sort of overarching themes of what I do.
I know.
Did we get a package?
One got something.
Oh, okay. What are you doing? No.
I was going to fill up your coffee.
Thank you, but I will do it.
What's that?
I'm very picky.
No shit. Good thing I think you got men, because I got you.
Oh, I was going to say you're included in that, but never mind. I won't compliment you on camera.
Better not. You got a reputation of maintaining mad eating dyke.
Susie says hi.
Hello.
That show had some hilarious lines and scenes. Yeah. I have to be critical of marriage and family from the inside. I do. I do it though. And I did point out in the video that this whole thing about women needing more sleep, and this woman was saying how she'd managed to get 10 hours of sleep because she had an empty house, and I just could not help but think, they say unmarried women are happier. I wonder if this has anything to do with it. Yeah, happy Valentine's, everybody. And it's also Ash Wednesday, so we got to do that this morning, which... Let's talk about how private your faith should be. Now, everyone go outside into their lives, into their daily lives with ash all over their faces. So private. So personal. Whatever. Our kid goes to the school, so I was going to be there anyway. But so I guess that would be a question, just in general, of like how I'm dealing with. I was in Trinidad for Carnival and Ash Wednesday back in 1986. Oh my God. But that was a hell of a hangover. Anyway, yes. It's an Episcopal church, so they're like Anglican, but in America. And yes, it is the beginning of Lent. Which, like, also a 40-day long, period of repentance and atonement right at the beginning of spring. Like, we had our atonement at the end of the year, a couple of months ago. My kitty cat is sitting in front of my monitor. Hi, kitty. Hi, kitty. Kitty. The ash is just a reminder. Christmas has the lights, and it's a remembrance of life in the middle of the winter. And this is a remembrance of death at the start of life. Yes, that was my first foreign adventure. Oh, that does sound like an adventure. Yeah, no, I know. There's reasons for stuff. It's not random symbolism or anything. I grew up without religion, so only know bits and bobs. I'm actually learning a lot about this one. As we're doing the stuff. And it has its rhythm, I guess. I am not in it, I guess. Her name is C2. Why? That's a strange name for a cat. Let's see. No, I know it's not random symbolism. I personally, like I say, I'm in a different rhythm. I don't know. I personally, I did, a lot of that. It sounded to me like a lot of the stuff that, a couple months ago at the end of the year. And then I understand like the bit about keeping your faith private and whatever, like it's between you and your God, right? But I don't know. It's all confusing. And I am not going to sit here and act as if I am some sort of Christian theologian, because I am not. My grandfather was a deacon of the Baptist church in the small town I grew up in West Virginia. It's weird going to church but not believing in magic. Yeah. And then I never understood any of those rituals. I've been as a kid here and there. Those rituals never made any sense to me. So, I mean, frankly, it's only been as an adult that the concept of ritual itself, came into focus for me. I'm like, but what are we all doing? I don't get it. Like, our previous cat was Chloe, but she disappeared, never found. This new kitty is a rescue cat that looks very much like Chloe. On C2. Gotcha. I'm like an atheist Christian. I think there's some value in the rituals, even if the magic they supposedly invoke doesn't exist. Right. I've definitely heard many people say that. Not exactly right, Scott. I am Bahamian, and we have steel drums here and calypso. All that music exists in any Caribbean island or island that once had slaves in one way or another. Oh, interesting. Trinidad was where the steel drum band began. Right. Okay. That's probably what they told him as a tourist, right? Again, reasonable people can believe things that are not true very easily, because God forbid you went to a place and the people there told you a thing and you believed them, right? It started in Trinidad and quickly spread to the rest of the Caribbean. See, and please don't argue about this, please, you guys. Yeah, some value to the rituals, even if the magic they invoke doesn't exist. Right. And the argument has long been made that as human beings, we need some sort of ritual just in our lives, But like I say, it wasn't until I was an adult, even the last few years, I think, I did my homework on this. Okay. I'm not in this. I'm not taking a side of that. As we're talking about religion, which it somehow feels less controversial at the moment than steel drums. But if you think about it, like the concept of ritual, is a thing that you do for, it's not just going through the motions. It has a reason that you do it. And, we talk about the everyday ritual of things like brushing your teeth or whatever. And it's like, that doesn't feel like a ritual because, well, you know exactly why you're doing that. There's no mystery there. Right? There's no and there is actually. The mystery lies in the overarching long term of, the difference that it makes to your life to have like good oral hygiene. And if we were going to, like go by the Catholic script and write like the mysteries of the toothbrushing or whatever, that you could meditate over, like they do a rosary, and it would all be about that kind of stuff. And it's still the why you're doing it, to kill the germs, and to clean your mouth. But it's also, the larger, like the more ethereal, the less specific and grounded reason why in the fuck do you do any of this stuff. And the thing about ritual is it's been stripped of both of those. Like it may never have had the first one in the first place. Like you're not actually like, there's no germ killing. There's no mouth cleansing equivalent in ritual, right? The reason you're doing it right now. It's supposed to have, actually, you know what? Maybe there is. Maybe I'm wrong about that. It's like that feeling of, community and like communion and whatever would be the equivalent there of like killing germs and toothbrushing for the ritual, right? And then the overarching, mysterious, more ethereal and distant aspect of it is, your salvation and whatever. And I just feel like we don't have either of those two things to it anymore. We do not live in a mental state where it works that way. Where it's like you don't have the brush or the paste anymore. And you're just standing in front of the mirror going, because you're supposed to do that for reasons. And I just wonder, to take that metaphor, like, what is the brush? What is the paste? Metaphors are fun. And I'm just trying to take this down to like its most basic level and look at what it is. And that, for some reason, is the analogy that I hear over and over and over again of a mundane ritual is brushing your teeth. Right. But again, that has, why you're doing that. There's no, you don't need a mystery there. You don't need to understand or have any concept of dentures. Right? You don't need that to understand that having fresh breath is better right now. I feel like in ritual you need that overarching meaning for the now to mean anything. Like, why am I sitting here singing this song? Why are we doing all of this? Oh, because salvation someday. Okay, but why right now? For the community. I don't know any of these people. I see them once a week for an hour and we don't get to talk about anything. We have to sit here and listen to the dude up there talk about shit people were saying 2,000 years ago. Like, it just, it's not effective. And so many people are sort of trying to analyze this these days, lately I've seen, which is interesting. Is, even 10 years ago, the narrative was, religion is dead and good riddance. It's dying. Good riddance. We can turn all the cathedrals into libraries and mischief managed, right? Which sounds lovely, like turn all the cathedrals into libraries. I don't really have a problem with that. But, oh, hey, Susie. Have a good week, honey. Happy everything. Happy Wednesday. I usually say, happy insert day of the week. And then today they have the holiday in the day of the week. Or the day of the week in the holiday. So, anyway. Yeah. I was talking about something deep or something. Yeah, but so if as human beings, we need that ritual, we need that, structure to sort of step us through psychological growth or productivity or whatever. And we're missing that in everything a lot of the times. But particularly in any kind of a spiritual context. None of it means anything to anybody anymore. In short, not nobody, but so many fewer people. And like I'm just a nerd, so I have read some of the writings of some of the Christian mystics from the Middle Ages and stuff, and you're just like, I have never met anyone who feels Christianity like that. I have never met that. You know what? That might not be true, but they're rare, right? Maybe they were rare back then too, and they're just the ones who wrote about it. I don't know. And I don't think that everybody. Maybe some people need it more than others. They all just sound high as fuck. Yeah, that's true, isn't it? Actually, they all sound something. I don't know about like high is generally deemed as like good. Like if you're high, then you're grooving, like you're having a good time, right? As opposed to stoned, which can be bad, right? Context, like some connotations of different words. But like if they're high, like high on what? Like, because like in particular, the one that sticks in my mind for whatever reason is Teresa and the spear. What the? That's your God. That's your whole. That's your and like. I'm glad that it did not. I'm glad she had a good time. I guess, but like, for anyone who is watching and is unfamiliar with the story, Saint Teresa wrote about how she saw an angel with a flaming head that stuck a spear in her gut and eviscerated her, and it was a great time. The Aquarian Gospel of JC covers the missing 18 years of his life, where he went east and met the Eastern Masters. Aquarian Gospel? Who wrote that? I'm just saying that if I had a vision like that, I would check myself. Really. It does sound like a schizophrenic hallucination, doesn't it? It does. It does. Actually, they think that she had epilepsy, which there's a syndrome, schizophrenia-like psychosis of epilepsy. It has a weird acronym, but it's a thing. It's a thing. Yeah. And one of the main differences is that schizophrenics have negative symptoms in that they lose stuff, mainly the ability to be sociable, right? They become really withdrawn and like unfriendly. And these people don't have that. So, which is one of the reasons they feel that she had that, because she lived in a convent all her life and like ran a convent and stuff. So, the book came out in 1908. I don't know who wrote it. The book inspired the important black thinkers back then. Okay. I mean, like, not to be dismissive, and I use this with all, but that is fiction, right? And fiction can be very powerful and inspiring in reality, and I'm not saying that it can't, but that's not anything remotely like an official gospel then, right? Unless somebody discovered something in a jar somewhere in 1908 or whatever. I have not heard of this. To be straightforward, I have not heard of this one yet. So I'm learning. Temporal lobe seizures can cause hallucinations. Exactly. And, if it's something you've been suffering with your whole life, well, they can get quite elaborate, apparently. But like I say, apparently it was a great time. I'm just saying that if I had a vision like that, I would be checking myself. I would be reading over something besides scripture to figure out why exactly it was that my God decided I needed my entrails on the floor. Because that sounds like, I don't know, kind of evil. With the fire and the evisceration and like, that doesn't sound like a heavenly vision to me. I'm not an expert, but I would. I can't. That's God? What the fuck? It may be, but it inspired the Black thinkers. It was the roots of the Black activism of later decades. That's great. Like, cultural identity is very important. Fiction is very important. And some things, straddle a line. Okay. And I do not mean to be dismissive of it at all by saying that. I just mean to differentiate, like, between, the stuff, the ancient stuff that they have found, and they may be equal levels of true. Okay. I'm not saying that. And as far as that goes, the Black thinkers of the early 20th century were also a lot of the, I want to say that the Back to Africa movement, which I'm not supposed to have an opinion about, but it did not work out for them very well, I don't think. And that just seems like folly to me. But I'm not allowed to have that opinion, so I don't. I did grow up in a Black neighborhood, though, and I went to a Black high school, and I know way more about this than most white people do. So you just kind of end up thinking things. I'm sorry. In season 11 of Supernatural, they had some intelligent discussion about God, who he is, why he made the decisions that he did. Right. If you want to take all that scripture as, well, gospel, which I don't. And see, that's where I part ways with a lot of people, where, like, I will talk about this stuff in pretty, in some pretty good depth philosophically. But when you want to sit here and start talking about Jesus as if he were actually the savior, I'm out. I don't believe that. And I'm not going to sit here and argue with someone about it either. That's stupid. No one's going to convince anyone in that argument, are they? Probably not. They say pick your battles. I try to do that. I only have so much time in this world, and I try to be judicious about how I spend it, Is fighting with somebody going to be worth my time? Am I going to get anything out of it other than frustration? I've learned over the years that if the answer to that question is no, then it's time to go find something else to do. I don't know. I think some people enjoy the fight, and sometimes more power to them. Sometimes we need people like that. I'm not one of them. I'm not. But and I think a lot of times we make this mistake in theology of looking to the stars. Like, why do we have to explain the whole universe? We can't even handle our own backyard. Why? JC looked like your average Joe who lived in the Eastern Mediterranean 2,000 years ago. Right. That's the whole point, right? Is that he was just kind of a regular person, except that he's not. Excuse me. I don't know. At least that's how it was made out to me as a kid. We are not actually teaching our kid any of that stuff. What up, big plans? Happy Valentine's. Wednesdays are the worst for me, so I've been missing. Oh, I noticed that. Oh, no. Sometimes you do have some really interesting things to say. Sometimes, sometimes sometimes you're really funny. And I had noticed that you were not around. I'm sorry about that. Is there a better day? I mean, Wednesday seems to be working. We could do a different weekday if that would be better for everybody. I'm trying to build community here, and if nobody can make the lives, well, then that really sort of poops that. Yeah, but so I don't know. I feel like we skip at least one level when we go from the personal to the universal, right? I feel like we skip at least one level when we think like that. Uh and again, that's where I sort of try to live. Looks like the clouds are moving in here. Rain is expected by evening. It's sunny out there here right now. But I mean, again, you are in the Pacific Northwest, so it rains there a lot. So I heard. I will just try to catch you when you are on, but I'm free. But thanks for the kind words. Oh yeah, yeah. Thanks for stopping by. It's and if other people do have problems with this, and they express that to me, I can always reevaluate it. Doing it midweek is nice. I actually got all my laundry done because I was free on the weekends. Didn't last, of course, but I did get there. I did for a night. Good times. Good times. We get about 37 inches of rain per year. So if you go over to Forks, they get 110. Wow. I have no idea how many inches of rain we get here, but it's a decent amount. It's very green here. This is one of those places where if you leave a piece of land for very long at all, it becomes a forest. Just such that when the settlers originally came here, I don't know how everything here around here is called Cherokee, but there are just not so very many Cherokee people around here, and that's like one of those daily reminders, just you probably get more than we do. Maybe. We live at the top of a big hill, so our yard doesn't usually flood. Which is different for me, being from either Cleveland, which is like the watershed of a river and a lake, or Indiana, which is just flat and swampy. So our yard never floods. And if it does, boy, we have bigger problems because that means that the town is underwater. But we have I know New Orleans gets way more rain per year than we do. Well, wager that's kind of a sensitive spot for them. I don't know. Yet another place I've never been. Smoke is just blowing right in front of the camera. No, but I was also inspired by the way Brittany runs her live streams, like just apropos of nothing and just separate from everything she was saying. I loved the way that she actually, like has her screen on the screen. I would love to know how she did that. That was very interesting because, that she could pull up all the stuff that she wanted to show people. And I thought that was really fun. Who wouldn't love that? Wouldn't that be cool if I could pull up stuff and show you guys stuff? I have no idea what. Because I never thought about it because I can't do that. We have flooding here when storms hit. The rivers overflow and towns get flooded. Yeah. That's humanity for you. Always building in, floodplains and on the sides of volcanoes. Sad.
That's where the view is.
OBS Studios, free software. Rock and roll. Thank you. Brittany is a true woman warrior. Yes. Oh, thank you.
I waited for you to take the last, but you never did. So
you didn't say that's what was going to happen. Fill the kettle, please.
I'm going to.
Okay.
You guys see this abuse I deal with. I'm just trying to be a good guy.
Oh my gosh.
And you know, as soon as they decide on a day they want you to have the chat in, my work schedule will change.
That's exactly what happened. I scheduled this in the middle of the week so that no one would be home. And then Mr. Work Scheduler over here gets 4/10s where he's off every Wednesday, like a month later. So that's why he's hanging around. He's in there doing bookkeeping because he doesn't work today. Like, as a thing. Yes, we have a lot of places built on floodplains and places like Orting that are mud flow paths when Rainier erupts. Right. I do have a friend who lives out there, and at one point I was looking at moving out there, and like, volcanoes are terrifying.
We were talking about volcanoes earlier today.
Yeah, we were, weren't we? They're terrifying. You know what? Watch him make coffee for a second because I gotta use the bathroom. Speaking of being inspired by Brittany, she totally just gets up and leaves. She's like, I gotta be you guys, hang on.
It's a wonderful love for a moon dancer. Hey, is barkeeper spring toxic?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Good.
Did you eat it?
Not yet. It fell into my coffee.
Oh my god. He needs to be in a domestic shelter, poor little guy. Oh, you. Yeah, the abuse. We have, and now you're showing off cleaning the stove. That's fun. We have volcanoes, earthquakes, storms, and floods.
If I don't clean it, you'll beat me. Oh God! Like her video, so she stops starting.
Shut up.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to be playful.
I know. But people are crazy. You never know.
Well, maybe if you stop coming after my son.
I think he's trying to make this into a running joke, you guys.
I'm fat. I don't run. My jokes just walk.
Around and around and around. Is there
1, 2.
We also have lots of snow in the mountains. Cascades get a lot more than the Rockies. Oh, right on. Yeah, it does not snow much here. Except, last month when it did for a minute, but usually not. Oh, yeah, I was going to write that down. OBS Studios before it passes out of the hunt. Did you set up the carafe and stuff?
Yeah, water's on high, coffee's in the pot.
Thank you.
I rinsed out the little plunger thing, so you just got to set it down on top of it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Yes.
The hobby is good, Elf.
Rainier is the most glaciated mountain in the 48 states. Right on. Well, Big Plans appreciates your humor. I feel like you guys could hang out. Yeah, and like the glaciers are not going to help anything if it decides to just, do its volcano thing. Again, I'm from the Midwest. The worst thing that happens there is tornadoes, which are scary, but limited. They don't like completely destroy the ecosystem of an area. I don't know. The devastation's just not the same. I feel anyway. And I don't know. I'm spoiled, I guess, from a place where, around here we don't really have earthquakes. We have thunderstorms sometimes. Like, and when it snows here, everyone loses their goddamn mind. When there is snow in the forecast, you can't find milk in the store. These people act like it is, time to stock up for Armageddon because snow. Which again, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. When it snows, they're like, "Oh, snow." And people might complain about it a bit, and that's it. Nothing else happens. Like, shovel it, of course. Spends all her intellectual powers trying to make the world better. I'm just wasting mine trying to make an RGP that encapsulates the best parts of the expanse Firefly, maybe Avalon 5, which sounds like a worthwhile undertaking to me. If Rainier erupts, the glaciers will be turned into water and set down into the valley, flooding everything. Oh, nice. 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 Death by water and then by fire. How fun. Yes, Rainier is in Washington State. Yes, when it snows here in the lowlands, people freak out and there are accidents all over the place. Death by water, death by fire. Sounds biblical. Well, hey, they had to be inspired by something. Imagine living in the days when you didn't understand what the fuck a volcano was. If she drowns, she's not a witch. If she floats, we burn her. I'm pretty sure that was actually not how that worked. But neither here nor there, really. But like seriously, okay? The ignorance of history, which is an oft popular topic, right? And their lack of understanding of the world and how it affected their outlook on things. The guy who first came up with the idea of plate tectonics got laughed out of the room. Okay? That theory wasn't even accepted until I think the 1950s. Like, seriously? And that's what happened when St. Helens erupted in 1980. All of that snow came crashing down as water and mudflows washing away everything. Yeah. Scary shit. And I just kind of don't want to live there. Yes, that's right. It was viewed as crackpot science. That's right. That's right. For decades. Okay. And now this is just accepted science, right? And it is the basis of our understanding for how volcanoes work. Imagine living thousands of years ago. Those people had no fucking hope of understanding why their village got exploded. They had no fucking hope of that, did they? They didn't know how volcanoes do this thing where they don't look like volcanoes sometimes for a really long time. So you and all your descendants, or all your, antecedents is the word. All your ancestors lived on this side of this mountain, and all of a sudden, one day the mountain fucking explodes, and you don't have any concept of why. A large bridge was completely washed away, but yeah, right. Oh, I've seen the photographs. Like, somebody took time-release photographs of that explosion. They are terrifying. Mount St. Helens, there was a mountain. In one shot, there's a mountain. And in the next shot, there's an explosion on the side of the mountain. And in the third shot, there's just no more fucking mountain there. And, So a large bridge was washed away and, like, a lot of other stuff, from what I gather. I was not there. I was not born yet. But, and like I say, I've never been quite that far west. But, yeah. humility, I guess. And like this all or nothing stance towards the past of like everyone is the black and white conservative versus liberal, like, oh, either the past was all a bunch of bullshit and we need to redo everything, or, they had the real wisdom and we have forgotten it. Which is like kind of a bit of both. Like, I don't know. Here in Washington, the scientists who proved that Eastern Washington was devastated by a massive flood had to fight very long and hard to prove his theory. His colleagues looked down on him. Right, as opposed to, well, I mean, I don't know if the derision is necessary, but it isn't the most like intuitive thing to think, oh, a volcano erupted and then everything was washed away by a flood. It's not. I'm not a volcanologist either, but I can see that. There was a guy taking readings of the mountain. I think the photos are his. Right. It was something like that. Imagine being the scientist and just watching the pyroclasm race towards it. Right. I want to say he was on the next peak over. Because these photos are from far enough away that you just see the explosion. He's not in it. He was probably several miles away. Because, yeah, like the mountain had been making, St. Helens did not erupt and no one knew it was coming. They did. It had been making noise for a while. And so, yeah, there was I want to say a seismologist who was there taking pictures. But from like the next peak over.
Oh, thank you. I was just on my way to do that for you.
How many scoops of coffee did you put in here, baby?
I put in 3.
Okay.
That's fine. I know what baby likes.
I got you. Thank you.
Love you, Valentine.
Love you. That's right. I keep forgetting it's Valentine's Day. My silly ass was sitting there this morning wondering why everybody was wearing red. I'm bad with holidays. I'm happy I can remember what day of the week it is. That was when the ice dam at Glacial Lake Missoula broke and all of that water came crashing through Washington and emptied it. Ooh. Right. That was supposed to be like a massive lake, right? Like in one of those like ancient geological things. Yes, I remember when that happened. Right. And those were the pictures that I had seen. But so, I guess with our modern understanding of these things and how they are inevitable, I don't know. I had just about decided I couldn't conscience living on the side of a volcano for myself, and then things changed and I didn't end up going out there anyway, but I don't know how you'll do it. I don't. Yeah. But what would the world be without Seattle, I guess? Glacial Lake Missoula was a large lake in Montana. All that water emptied all at once. Right. That's crazy. And it's just, big geologic changes all at once. And the fact that nothing like that has happened in the last few thousand years that we know of, that just makes us lucky, right? I'm not trying to be like a doomsday prognosticator or anything, but and it wouldn't be doomsday, obviously, because these things just naturally happen. We would take them that way, though. And like I say, from our perspective, that volcano goes off, like your whole world is gone, right? So I don't really know where I'm going with this. I want my coffee. I'm sad. Is the big flooding in Washington the same glacial release flood they think may have caused the Grand Canyon? Ooh, that's a good question. Harry Truman lived at Spirit Lake for decades and died when St. Helens blew its top. He refused to leave. This was where his roots. Harry Truman, like the President Harry Truman, died in the Mount St. Helens eruption? Shit. That's something you never hear about. What the fuck? Like the Harry S. Truman? Oh, no, that was a different flooding. Okay. Was it something like that? I feel like that is kind of far south from Montana, but on this scale, you never know. No, not the president, just a man with the same name. Dude, you had me going there for a second. Don't do that. Truman died in Missouri. Okay, I don't know. I know who he was and some stuff that he did, and that apparently he was kind of an irascible fuck. But, he was a general, so that checks out. I got about 45 minutes, and I'm going to do something else, probably fold laundry. This is fun, though, you guys. And I love how I feel like we haven't really talked a whole lot about, whether or not women need any more sleep. But, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of subtle for me, which the short answer would be yes, but. Why is the interesting part, right? And it really does live in that sweet nether region of the differences between men and women that could be cultural, could be biological. We really don't know. Could be a bit of both. We really don't know. Which, that's my sweet spot. I love that shit. And I was not at all surprised to find that the science has not covered this. They just don't know that. They just don't know why women are lighter sleepers and have more disturbed sleep as we age. They don't know that, right? It's both. I don't know as much about the geology of the Grand Canyon. That's the Southwest. I live in the Northwest, completely different. Right. I was thinking that was a bit far south. Right. It's part cultural, it's part biological, but where's the difference? What is the effect of one on the other and the interplay there? And that's the conversation that we cannot seem to have as a collective, right? What are the differences between men and women and what causes them? Is the essential question there, right? And like I say, at this point, culturally, in the mainstream, we're just kind of sitting, we're pretending they don't exist. There are no differences between men and women. We don't actually need to acknowledge any of that because we can all do pretty much the same stuff. Since women can do everything that men can do, there is therefore no difference between us at all. And to suggest otherwise is sexist. Which is very limiting to the conversation of feminism, right? Small wonder feminism withered and damn near died under those conditions. Anyway, I'm sure it is different down there. But and then on the other hand, in the background, we have this obsession with gender roles, which is different than sex differences. They're different. Sex and gender are not related. They're not the same thing at all. Which is how on the one hand, we can sit here and talk out of one side of our mouths and pretend there's no differences between the sexes. And then on the other hand, be so completely obsessed with gender roles. It's crazy talk. Wait, but didn't it contribute to those standards? Yeah. Yeah. The problem was the feminist activism went way off course, became very badly splintered. See, okay. And this is what I want to say, and this is a bit of a quibble, I suppose, and I'm working on clarifying this point. But like, if you are encouraging, for example, prostitution under the banner of feminism, you are lying, at the very least to other people, if not yourself. That's not what that is. Okay. If you are working, to promote surrogacy and you're calling yourself a feminist, that's not what that is. I don't okay. If you're working to change the definition of woman in the legal sense away from material reality, then you are not a feminist. That's not what that is. Okay, like some support women who did this and others did not. Right. And I guess, like, I want to, like, it almost feels like we are in a battle for the soul of the movement, frankly. What the fuck is it about? Is it about equality for everybody? No. It's not. There's a movement for that. It's called egalitarianism. It's called humanism. Those exist. I might subscribe to them myself, but that's not what we're talking about. It's like we can't even stay on subject. That's extremist wackos who don't care about what feminism stood for. Right. But so, we don't have a whole lot of core tenets. We don't have a whole lot of core texts. There are certain subgroups that have their own sort of core texts. Right. And part of it is that feminism is just going to be a multi-headed hydra because there's so damn many women in the world. And, different women in different regions or different situations have different needs. But, I think that feminist activism went off course for a couple of different reasons. And, it's like, if you're taking, let's pretend we're sailing a ship to Australia. Okay. And at some point we get blown a bit off course. How far off course do we have to be before we are no longer sailing to Australia? How far off do you have to be before it doesn't count as feminism anymore? There should be some sort of established thought on that. Right? You don't just get to be included under the banner of feminism because you say so. The Nazis called themselves socialists. That doesn't mean that they were. Okay? The Soviet Union called itself socialist. That doesn't mean that it was. Okay? Like, that's right. We've gone so far away from the core roots and tenets of feminism and the left, just activism as a whole. Right. And so I think that there's a lot of cause to, maybe sit and try and evaluate what the fuck we're doing. What is feminism? I literally heard Buck Angel say last week that she doesn't know. This seems like an open door. Okay. It's an open book, apparently. Apparently, all of these books that have been written have not managed to establish this in the zeitgeist, which is strange. Right? I know. Piles and piles and piles of books have been written on feminism and the cause and what and why and how and all of that. And this is the part where I get to sit here and admit that I haven't read most of them. Why? Well, because I'm not Black or gay. And quite frankly, most of them don't seem to want me to read them, which seems counterproductive. Yes, that's right. Both did, and neither country was at all. Right, yeah, exactly. You can use a word, and this is where, like, I'm kind of coming out from my roots here. because like I love me some Lewis Carroll and some classic literature and some absurdism, and I just love that goofy shit. But like, no, a word does not mean whatever you use it to mean. No. They did. The problem was some people very badly hijacked it all, completely destroyed it. Right. We can sit down and read Das Kapital together if you want. Is that your suggestion for feminist literature? Maybe it is. And see, that's the other thing is, to me, like, I find these themes in everything. Which is why I ended up making a channel about it. And I usually don't have a lot of problem in finding ways to make something relevant to feminism at all. To me, that's not like a special category. I am a woman. That's just kind of how I see things. Socialism is the ultimate feminist state because we're all equal. Oh. Well, and see, that's actually, you know, are there differences between men and women? What is equality? What does that mean? See? Do the differences between men and women mean equality is impossible? Because I've heard that argument made, which again is not a mainstream discussion that anyone is having. I mean, that's the ultimate beautiful dream of leftism, I suppose, is equality for all. So if it is hypothetically impossible, but like, well, shouldn't we know that? Because if it is, we're setting ourselves up for, you know, a brick wall. And perhaps there is a better or more constructive way to go about this, setting things up. I don't know this. I'm not saying that I believe this. But if you're undertaking a massive project, if it's futile, you might want to know that. I'm just saying. I'm just spitballing. I'm just putting that out there. You know, and again, it comes back to reproduction, which we need to do to survive as a species. Okay, my girlfriend and I just decided what we want to do for Valentine's Day lunch. Okay, y'all about to go? Happy Valentine's Day, you guys. Have a good time. You know, and as far as equality, it ended up becoming a question of equal with what? One another? We're kind of not, though. You know, in that there is no male equivalent of pregnancy. And pregnancy is kind of a big deal, both personally and collectively. So we're just not. Does that mean anyone is better than anyone else? I feel like that's 8-year-old thinking. That's baby thought thinking right there. No. Just because two things are different doesn't mean you have to decide which one you like better. This is not ice cream flavors. What the fuck? Not to mention, we all already have a team picked for us in this race. Do I like men or women better? Gee, I don't know. Yes, we've forgotten that sex is largely about making babies, that there are only 2 sexual gametes. Right. But then, like, that's one point that, like, all kinds of other stuff comes from, right? Stuff that's A, not sexy, and B, not about kids, right? So, and you know, there's definitely a form that our lives take on that lacking that doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense. Like the whole pair bonding thing, like if you're not planning on having children, that doesn't necessarily make any sense. Men would never be able to handle all the different stresses that come with being pregnant and birthing a baby. They'd be dead if they ever tried. I don't know, Scott. I have 4 kids, but I'm not a marksman. Took lots of tries. Shut up. Plus, there is some study that says sex has developed into helping people stay together. Right. Pair bonding. Pair bonding is right. Which, if you're going to be raising kids together, is so much more urgent, I guess. You know? And if you take that out of the equation, and, you know, this is the human thing, right? We did this whole thing of domesticating animals and learning how to farm so that we could create enough food so that some people could do stuff besides get food, right? So you could like eat and read for a living, or I don't know, be a blacksmith or whatever, specialization. Okay. Agriculture allowed us to make enough food so that we could begin to specialize in other stuff. This is what humans do. Okay. So the notion that maybe some people want to spend their lives specializing in something other than child rearing is only a natural outgrowth of that. Is it not? That to me would be a symptom of a flourishing society, that we have enough, a stable population that some people can just abstain altogether. Whole segments of the population can just abstain from reproduction altogether and focus on other stuff with their lives, like wholly. I don't see that. That to me seems like an outgrowth, a natural outgrowth of the specialization that was enabled in the first place by agriculture. Okay. Today's child-free programmer is yesterday's blacksmith. Okay. I don't see that as anything, any reason to believe that like society is falling apart because people aren't having, like, a lot of people are still having babies. I did it myself twice. Like, and that's not the best evidence. Like, that's anecdotal, but like, my kids go to school with a bunch of other kids too. Like, the species, the extinction of the species is not on the horizon, right? That's not the problem we're facing, is it? No. Not in the case of numbers. Anyway. Whew. I gotta get some coffee, y'all. It's been sitting there long enough. I gotta get some. Oh. If I wait too much longer, there won't be any point. We'll be done. Oh, well. It's a glamour shot from the wrong side, huh? Wow. Behold my carafe. Yeah, it's pretty sunny here today. It often takes many tries to result in a pregnancy. Yeah. Plus there's, okay. Yes, agriculture changed everything. Right, yeah, right? Don't judge me. You can't see that. Oh, that's funny. Oh. Oh. What a beautiful sound that is. Yes, you are much more north than we are. For sure. Yeah. And as I said last week, the light is actually more direct here. Noticeably so. It's noticeably more direct here. Just standing outside. And like I always laugh because, like, speaking of old TV shows, you guys ever watch CSI Miami? And like everything is filmed through like a sepia filter, so like everything looks like kind of weirdly yellow. And like I thought that was just some bullshit. Same latitude as Lake Superior. Okay. So you're even further north in Cleveland, yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. No, and then I went to Florida. And the light actually looks different there. Like appreciably. And I was like, oh snap. Were they actually doing something artistic with that shit? What? You haven't watched CSI Miami? Well. Anyway, you pull up a clip of it if you're curious. The whole fucking show, as far as I've ever noticed, looks like that. It's all yellow. More north of the entire state of Maine. Oh my God, that's terrifying. That's terrifying. Oh no. Cheers to that. Oh my gosh, good luck. Mm. I'm just a stunt baby. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And that's not like I wouldn't want to. Like, I don't think I could do that. Oh, seasonal stuff is a bitch. And I did not think that was real. Again, until I moved to Florida for a year and a half and like my seasonal depression just magically disappeared. And I was like, oh, shit, maybe that is what that was. But we're much more warm. Much warm here. Right. No, I know. But still, it's not just the heat. It's also the light. Like I'm saying, the, angle of the sunlight is much more oblique from up north than it is further south. It's much more direct. Right. There's your quick astronomy lesson for the morning, for the day. And it really is. Like, that's true. I mean, of course it's true, but like you can see it, I guess is what I'm saying. It's not like it's some kind of subconscious effect. Like, you can see it. Standing outside, you can look around and be like, wow, yeah, the light is more direct here. Like, it is. But like as a kid, it never occurred to me that like high noon, where that thing where the sun is actually hanging above you, like that never happens. Except at the equator. During the winter solstice, the sun angle is only 30 degrees in the sky at high noon. Right. Except around the equator, like, and here's the weird thing. Apparently on the solstice, they have this thing where like for a little while in the middle of the day, nothing has a shadow. Which I saw some photographs of, which looks really strange. I've seen that happen when I was in Manila in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's pretty equatorial, I think. That checks out. I guess you're telling the truth. I guess I'll accept that. Oh, I would just love to go anywhere. We've been talking about the trip I have to take a little bit here on the channel, and then like it's kind of become like a topic of conversation around the house too. So it's like starting to feel like a real thing that I have to actually plan for. Oh my gosh. That's right. I had a question. I guess I got a couple of Americans in here. Well, and I got Scott and somebody. Was Susie the Caribbean one? Did she leave? Philological, are you here? I don't know if I have any of my Brits in the chat today because I had a question for y'all in regards to the trip, and I'm trying to remember what it was. So, no rush. Yes, nothing had a shadow. I was next to a 40-foot flagpole, and it had no shadow. That's bizarre. You're here? Okay, cool. Manila is around 15 degrees north, not at the equator. Okay, Singapore's at the equator, and I've been there too. Okay, right on. Now I'm trying to remember what my question was. Because we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. Shoot. Watch. It'll come back to me in the middle of the afternoon. I told you that the lady coaching me on the business wants me to plan our trip to England as part of the self-materialization or actual eventual success. Yeah, no, I know. Also, it would be helpful to know what it is I'm trying to do. Just straight up. She's a fun lady, that one. Yeah. She's called Teresa, too. Animal, vegetable, or mineral? The question? It was in regards to some kind of on-the-ground specific, do they do this in England kind of thing? And I'm just trying to remember what it was. Excuse me. Trying to jog my memory. Yeah, thanks. It was in regards to some kind of one of those just everyday on the ground kind of things that it is really difficult to find an internet answer to a lot of times, whereas opposed to if you have a person, you can just say, hey, question, and get an answer, But so like it's crazy to think. I mean, like it's crazy to think about. I would probably have to call ahead and make reservations. Like I would probably have to contact them before we went there. Because they have various tourist packages and whatever. And I imagine that you buy those before you get there. If you're going to be booking accommodation, you would probably do that in advance. So I'm going to have to call them. Before I do anything else. Pretty much. I'm going to have to call them. Yes, it's for the trip. I have to go to England. Remember? For the book. And we're just kind of planning, just trying to get a handle on what exactly that is. What does that mean? I've never fucking been anywhere. The one time I went anywhere, it was on, I went to Canada on a school trip on a bus. I slept the whole way. Like I didn't do that, I traveled independently when I visited the UK. I did, however, arrange to rent a flat for a week beforehand. Right. You want to have someplace to get to be when you get there. And the place I need to go just happens to be a bed and breakfast. So that's nice. They turned this old castle into a B&B. Northumberland. Yeah. Province. You sound like a Canadian. You heard me there for a second. Province. Wait, what? Where did you visit the UK? What did you go over there for? My first time in England, yes. My first time anywhere, really. That's what I'm saying. I went to Canada on a school trip once on a bus. That was it, And I've driven around the United States. But again, this is one big country. You could literally just get in your car and go 4 days. Okay. England has a lot of B&Bs. That was how I coped with the high costs. Very cool. Right on. How long ago was this, out of curiosity? For me, it was for vacation. Cool. Did you do London and all the touristy stuff and, I don't know, Stonehenge and whatever? I would love to do some of that. I don't know. It's all kind of distant from where I need to be. So, October 98. Okay, cool. But yeah, they've turned this old castle that I need to do the research on into a B&B. So I can literally just stay there and talk to the people, and I don't need to, worry about where I'm going to sleep. That's nice. But yeah, I should probably make that accommodation in advance. And they are only open from, I think, April to September or something like that. So it's going to have to be, not that anybody wants to go visit the north of England in November anyway, right? Thank you. Yeah. I went all over the UK. London, Stonehenge, Bath, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Lake District, Loch Ness, Wales. Wow. I would love to see any of that. Oh. And Wales is gorgeous and interesting. I was just watching something about like there's an entire estuary that got like walled up like 150 years ago and is now a wetlands. Like a rare salt wetlands. I guess it's the only one in the country. Because it's not real, I guess. I mean, it's real, it exists, but it's artificial. I was there, and when I was there in 1998, it was the beginning of the coldest winter they had. Interesting. That was a hard winter where we were too. I remember that was the first year I had to walk to school. So, no, that was the second year I had to walk. Anyway, yeah, those were a couple of bad winters there. I want to say, visit Conwy. It's a lovely historic town. Oh, cool. My family is from around there somewhere. That was during La Nina. Mm-hmm. My cousin was just telling me apparently the Wyatts have gotten up to some interesting things throughout English history in particular, but they are Welsh. We are Welsh. Yeah. And English and Scottish and whatever, Americans, we don't have any real lineage, but like, yeah, no. So I really just kind of need to go to this place, this one castle in the middle of nowhere. And it's really, I mean, it is a tourist attraction, but it's, it's supposedly, they call it the most haunted castle in England, which is hilarious. Like, how do you measure that? But like, they do ghost tours, they do, everything. And they have the grounds that you can do the ground tours too. And, yeah, I mean, it would be super easy to spend a fun weekend there. Like, no sweat. We had record-breaking snow in the mountains during winter 1998, 98, 99, and we also had the wettest 90-day period, La Nina. Dude, how do you remember all this stuff? You remind me of my cousin, who has, like, encyclopedic memories with, like, dates and stuff like that. He does that, too. I'm envious. That is not me. You see this? You see this? See my journal? See my book? I have, I have to write everything down. I will literally forget something from one end of the day to the other. Terrible. Not unimportant things either. But so, and I have to drag my family along, right? I can't just be like take my husband, I guess. Obviously, I don't want to go alone. That's kind of insane. But I don't want to just be like, well, I'm going to Europe. See you guys. Like, I don't know. That seems like a shitty thing to do. But on the other hand, I just want to go see an old castle. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. So, like, I should ask them about this. Obviously. But, like, I just don't, I mean, I'm going to have to make it up to them and, like, take them to see Piccadilly or something. I don't know. What do people do? It was very significant. That's why I remember it. I went down to Las Vegas in early 99. So I'm so relieved to be in a warmer, sunnier place. Boy, that's like the other side of the spectrum entirely. Vegas I have seen. That place is off the hook. The trip to England is for us. Just you and me. Okay. That would make it cheaper. The trip to Korea and or France is for the family. Okay. I mean, if we wanted to, and I do not know if it would be cheaper or even easier to do England and France in one trip, if only because we will be over there. Plan big, right? Heck yeah. I went to the Star Trek Museum when I was there. In Britain? Oh, in Vegas. That makes much more sense. There's a Star Trek Museum in Vegas, maybe? That makes sense. I think it would be cheaper to do England and France in one big trip. Right. Cheaper, certainly. Easier, though. That puts me wrangling at least 3 kids for the England leg of the trip. With, as I'm saying, basically nothing for them to do. That's what I'm saying. Because I'm going there to do research and wander around, going, look at all the old shit, that's not exactly, the most exciting kid-friendly trip. You can do a side trip to Paris via the Channel. That would be so much fun. I have always wanted to do that ever since they built that damn thing. And yes, I'm old enough to remember when they were building that damn thing. We could plan an England France trip. Take our friends that have family in France, and maybe do the boys, and we'll have plenty to keep us busy while you work. Yeah, that would be great. Well, we can talk about it. I don't want to drag everyone to the corner of nothing and be busy while y'all have nothing to do. That's what I don't want. While I work, I suppose walking around going, oh, look at all the old shit doesn't really sound like work. That train goes over 200 miles an hour. Not that you'd know it, right? Because you're underground. You can't see anything, but what a cool thing that is. And of course, that stretch of water is so notorious and choppy and has, determined the course of many a battle and taken, and ended many a life, right? Claimed many a soul. And now it's just like, fuck it. We'll just take the train. Sorry. That's so damn cool. Like, not all good things are bad. Change is not always bad. And I think this is actually one of the big themes of the book. Is like, when is change good or bad, and how do you tell? In the first Mission Impossible movie, Tom Cruise fights with a bad guy on the Channel train. Epic. I haven't seen that, but, name 10 movies. I haven't seen 9 of them. These days, it might be 9.5. Because they keep on making them. Losers. And I keep on not watching them. So I'm like falling further behind. Don't get me wrong. I have my favorite movies. I'm not like against movies or anything. I just don't. Well, these days I don't have the time to sit around for an hour and a half. I don't have the patience to sit around for an hour and a half. And I find myself just picking them apart anyway. I've spent too much time, doing cultural analysis on the one hand, and then on the other hand, doing like storytelling work and like learning how to tell a good story. That like I can't watch anything. I can't watch anything because I just nitpick the shit out of it. I must be terrible. I'm sorry, honey. I must be absolutely awful to watch things with at this point. In Wolverine 2013, Wolverine fights gangsters on a speeding bullet train in Japan. I feel like I gotta ding you for relevance, but that is pretty cool. Oh my gosh, we're down to 5 minutes. Holy cow. This flew by, you guys. Thank you so much for hanging with me. And I feel like it's just kind of been a ramble because, well, I don't feel like the video was very controversial, was it? I feel like we all kind of saw the same thing there. Which is funny to me, because obviously I do craft the videos to sort of create a narrative that I'm trying to get across. That is the point. And it's definitely very interesting how sometimes people will watch said video and come away with something that I did not intend at all. Yeah, it's art for you, I guess. You put it out there and then it belongs to the world. And like and that drama, actually, there's been not just that, but also the stuff. There's just been a lot of nasty sniping back and forth between various parties in the gender critical / radfem space lately. And frankly, that was a lot of what inspired me this week, actually, to just go back to what the fuck are we talking? Women. Do women need more sleep? What is the narrative behind that? What is the science behind that? And that kind of stuff. I'm trying to just refocus again. Just refocus one more time. Why are we here? What are we talking about? Because I'm not obviously here for any of that. And that was my response when the exchanges had been vicious. Right. And so that was why, I mean, to be fair, last week, whoever that was that came up here and tried to start something with me did a very poor job in that she was referencing nonsense. Like, you know, if you're going to come at me, at least come with something. I don't know. But that was my immediate response to that, was to laugh and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so flattered you thought of me, and not hit back at all. Because I don't want to do that. I don't want to get caught in a tit for tat with anybody ever about anything. I know it as well. So that's, I feel, kind of bulletproof in that way. You know, you can come at me if you want to, and you might really hurt my feelings, so please don't. But if such a thing happens, I'm just going to say this, y'all, don't expect me to do that. Don't expect me to come out swinging in like a flame war. Don't do that. I won't. And that's why. Because it just goes on forever. And in public, like, what? So childish. I just can't. In China, they call tit for tat guanxi. Right on. In China, they would have called me fish food. So, you know, I have a bone to pick with that, but neither here nor there. Thank goodness. I don't want to leave on that. Yeah, so I don't know. Just thanks for hanging out, I guess. We didn't have a whole lot of grist for the mill from the video this week, so I ended up just kind of having a nice ramble. I visited China back in 1993, and that was where I learned that. Which, again, learning stuff from somebody on the ground makes a certain amount of sense. Was good. Have a nice week, all. Yeah, you too, Philological. Thanks for hanging. And I have no idea. Thank you for the tip on the short. Actually, you know what? I did have a question for you. Where would you, and I know we only watched it once, but like maybe if you could comment or something, like where should I cut it? A lot of times that's the thing that confuses me. And, you know, Jay was telling me that maybe I'm making them a little too long. May the force be with you. Yeah. So I like this week's video because it was more of Red Mom's response than somebody else's video, right? Thank you. Yes, that would be super helpful. With the timestamp, that would be super helpful because that's an issue I'm finding. Is I'll go back through them, and sometimes there's a real obvious kind of call and response that, you know, functions as like a setup and a punchline, and sometimes there's not, or sometimes the punchline only works because of something I said. It's like a callback, you know. I don't know. Right. A 10-second-ish clip. Okay. So that of just like basically like the music kind of playing, and then I come in dancing like that, like just that bit. I thought that's what you meant. I don't understand shorts, maybe, I guess, because if I saw that as a short, I'd be like, what the fuck was that? You know, I don't know. Maybe I don't get it. That would not be the first time that was true. Oh, happy Valentine's Day, Scott. I hope you guys have a lovely lunch. And it's 2:00, I guess, so I'm gonna go. And you know, do the rest of my day stuff. It is Valentine's Day, and we don't have a whole lot of plans, but we're spending the day together. Your girlfriend is super awesome. Awesome. That's great. Yeah. So it's 2:00. And on that note, happy Valentine's, everybody. See y'all next week.